It's Blue. Make sure you like and subscribe and go follow me on my Twitch and my Instagram. Those links are down below. Also my Patreon, where I post more content on there that I don't post here.
I was walking down the school hallway, and then I see Butters, and he's like, "Hey Eric, you want to see what my mom packed me for lunch?" And that's when I start to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced.
Today I'm going to be reacting to More Critical Drinker on joining the Pandaverse.
You know, the older I get, the more I realize that life really is a matter of perspective. I mean, if you think you've been having a bad week, if you're feeling overwhelmed by failures, worries, or embarrassing mockery from the people around you, then just keep in mind that it could always be worse. For example, you could be Bob Iger or Kathleen Kennedy. It's no secret that people like them have come in for a fair bit of criticism over the years for their embarrassing mismanagement of the brands and studios under their control, their shameless pandering to identity politics, and their gradual alienation of their own customers. But most of that criticism has been confined to social media and YouTube. It's not very often that mainstream outlets, much less people in their own industry, felt brave enough to call them out. All of that changed a few days ago though, with the release of Joining the Pandaverse, a SouthPark special that tackles issues like Disney's token diversity pandering, fan backlash, the lazy overuse of multiverses as a plot device, and even AI in the way that only Trey Parker and Matt Stone possibly can. And holy shit, did it ignite a firestorm online. Other people have reviewed the episode far better than I can, so I'll skip the detailed plot synopsis, and I absolutely won't be using video because they seem to be clamping down hard on that shit for some reason. But the basic gist is that Cartman gets transported into another universe where he and his friends are all played by strong, diverse women of various races. Meanwhile, the Cartman from that universe gets transported into our world with much hilarity, especially from PC Principal, who tries to gaslight the other boys into believing there's nothing weird about someone they've known their whole lives suddenly showing up as a completely different race and gender. It's a perfect satire on the tired old, "it's no big deal, why'd you have a problem with it, bro?" argument, and it's neatly countered by the boys pointing out that they've got no issue whatsoever with a character like Miles Morales, who was created with his own unique personality and backstory instead of just being a lazy race swap of an existing character, hammering home the simple but often misunderstood point that well-written characters who happen to be diverse are a perfectly good thing that no reasonable person can object to, whereas diverse characters created for the sole purpose of being diverse are not.
I actually thought that how he summed it up was really nice. Essentially saying, oh, telling all of these boys that somebody that they grew up with, Cartman, and have known their entire life a certain way, all of a sudden changing and being different, isn't something to actually notice, point out, or have a discussion over. That makes you weird for noticing. So I thought that that was a very clean, that actually is essentially what they're doing, just wording it so to the point is very parallel to the issue that a lot of people are bringing up, which would be, oh, well, it's not that we have a problem with the diversity, it's that we don't really like that we grew up knowing this character a certain way, and you changing these aspects for no actual point.
There's also a neat little subplot about all the handymen in SouthPark becoming insanely rich because everyone else invested their time and money in useless college degrees to the point where they can't actually fix or do anything for themselves now, and their jobs are all being slowly replaced by AI. Again, a nice satire of the current state of modern culture, where people are racking up insane debts to get degrees they don't really need for jobs that are becoming obsolete anyway. But the real meat of the episode is the storyline between Cartman and Kathleen Kennedy, where we find out that Cartman's constant complaining about Star Wars eventually caused her to turn to the Panda Stone, a magical device that allowed Disney to keep making the same movies over and over for decades but still be massively successful. Again, a pretty biting observation about the real Disney. Although let's be honest here, I think Marvel were the biggest beneficiary out of that one. The more Kennedy relied on the Panda Stone rather than doing actual creative work to make good movies, the more it became corrupted and eventually opened a portal to another universe, allowing an evil version of Kennedy to come through with all her worst personality traits dialed up to 11 and lay waste to Disney's movies. As with most stuff that South Park does, the whole storyline actually provides a fairly balanced perspective on a highly divisive issue. And despite what you might have heard, the Kennedy from our universe is generally portrayed sympathetically as a well-meaning but slightly disconnected Hollywood executive who wants to make a positive difference to the world but lacks the creativity and dedication to actually get it done, and instead finds herself constantly reacting to other people's criticism, ultimately turn into a quick, lazy solution in the form of the Panderstone. But the thing is, the only reason she does it in the first place is because of Cartman's constant whining and nitpicking about everything that she produces. Clearly the writers are taking aim at toxic fans who find reasons to complain about absolutely everything, and the evil Kathleen Kennedy from another dimension is a pretty smart parody of the monstrous, franchise-devouring being that a lot of people have created in their minds that probably has little or no connection to the mundane reality of the real Kathleen Kennedy. And to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with that. Believe it or not, it's possible to acknowledge that there's a lot of assholes out there who are basically impossible to please, but also that lazy appeals to social justice and identity politics isn't going to silence them. If anything, it's just going to give them more ammunition to criticise you with. Like I say, it's a classic example of South Park's ability to present both sides of an argument fairly, make fun of the most extreme and ridiculous elements, and suggest that maybe, just maybe, there's a sensible middle ground to be found.
I do like that you pointed that out, because I did notice that as well whenever I was watching it, that more so towards the end, it was making fun of a little bit more on the other side where, oh, well, I only did this because you were complaining so much, so isn't it kind of a full circle of, it's not completely my fault because if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have done this, and if I didn't do this, you wouldn't have complained more, and so we're kind of both at fault. It does seem like South Park is pretty good at going at both sides. If they're going to go at Trump, they're going to go at Biden. And it's nice. Even if they go political, they're going to say, wow, this is really, they're really good at making fun of people, but then almost making fun of themselves, where it's like, oh, I thought that they thought this, but they're really good at then also making fun of that thought themselves.
Screaming woke at everything with even a hint of diversity or progressive ideas is just as dumb and unproductive as trying to race and gender swap every single character in sight. What's interesting though is the reaction to what was actually a pretty fair and balanced episode, with both sides of the culture war instantly claiming it as their own. People on the right are like, yeah, we totally owned those woke libtards with this one, while people on the left seem to think, this whole thing was basically making fun of those right-wing chuds and they were just too stupid to see it. Honestly though, I see this as more of a victory for common sense and moderation than for any particular side. It's a win for the silent majority of normal people caught up in the middle who are tired of this endless culture war bullshit and just want some decent entertainment. Those are the people this episode is really meant to appeal to, and in that respect, it works perfectly. What's more important though is the long-term implications of this. South Park is the first mainstream production to openly acknowledge that yes, there is actually a real problem with how we're making entertainment these days. Yes, Hollywood is relying far too much on lazy and tokenized diversity without any artistic integrity to back it up. Yes, it's creating an increasingly antagonistic relationship with their own customers, and yes, whatever their intentions might have been at first, executives like Kennedy and Iger have played a big part in that. This might be the first domino to fall, but I suspect it's not going to be the last. The first step towards fixing a problem is acknowledging that it even exists, and that acknowledgement is out there now. It's being spoken about openly for the first time, and it makes me wonder how many other people that have stayed silent until now are finally going to grow a spine and speak up, now that South Park have paved the way for them. Personally, my hope is the same one it's always been, that we can somehow find a way back to producing movies and TV shows that relied on good storytelling and character building to sell themselves, and not how many socio-political boxes they could tick along the way. That liking or disliking a new movie doesn't have to become the core of your entire identity, or a way of beating the other side over the head in a never-ending battle for dominance. We're still a long way from reaching that goal right now, but we've just taken the first big step towards it, and with a bit of luck, the next ones might just be a little easier. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, I really liked that one. It's difficult to make a point and speak on it. He's so good at speaking and getting his point across. Sure, the video's probably prepared, not scripted, but just kind of prepared of, say this right here. It's just really clear and easy to understand, whereas I often feel like I'm very jumbled and my points don't make sense and they're very vague. because I don't know how to word things or how to label things very well, and I usually have a new thought before I'm done with a sentence, like I'm doing right now. So yeah, but I will try my best. I like how he ended it, kind of saying on both sides and pointing out, hey, one side could think this and one side could think that, and I actually did enjoy that point. You also could just be someone in the middle who's like, no, I actually kind of like it, not because I like the diversity or I like that they're changing it, I just happen to like it, and I don't really think that there's anything wrong with it. I thought it was kind of mid or okay, but definitely nothing that irritated me or ruins my day over. And then some people could think, no, that was actually awful, not because diversity scares me or because I'm not or am on the left or on the right, but because I actually just think that the story was really lazy. If you're going to change it, you might as well change it to add aspects that were maybe left out or could have been a really cool twist in these older shows or movies or characters, and you could easily add to it without taking away or diminishing things that they've spent so long building these characters to represent or be, which have, you know, connected with a lot of people who happen to be, yes, called fans. But you're changing things that don't really make a lot of sense and feels pointless. And then in that sense feels forced. So it's also kind of like, wait, is this the whole reason why you remade it? Yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you go like and subscribe and check out Critical Drinker, who actually made the video, and my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next time.